everyone. Welcome to another episode of Vanquish. My name is Samkelo Khatebe. Today you join me on the outside studio with natural light and I put some nice plants for you, so that you can enjoy some greenery, just for a change. Anyway, today I've got an interesting guest. Her name is Alani Ferreira, very interesting person who does a sport that I don't do. Like I've said many times, I do black swimming. So I put my feet in, just feet, and then that's it. If I go to the ocean, I run after the waves. When they come my direction, I run away. Of course, they can never catch me. But yeah, Alani does actual swimming, proper swimming. So anyway, let us welcome Alani Ferreira. Alani, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Vanquish. Um, yeah, I've never been good at swimming, and this is embarrassing for me because some of my friends in high school who had shorter limbs than me were actually able to swim, black, if I might add. So I've always just said, look, I'm sorry, it's a white thing and it's a thing for people with hands. Until my black friends with literally no arms started swimming, and then I just had no response to it, and I was ashamed. But anyway, you are 22 years old. When did it all begin for you?
So I started swimming, but this is when I was still considered able-bodied. When I was 4 years old, I started to learn. So it's been 18 years that this journey has been going on. But I started disability swimming 10 years ago when I was diagnosed with Stargardt macular dystrophy. So I am visually impaired in a S13. Yeah, and since then it's just been a crazy journey of learning all about disability swimming and disability sports. And yeah, it's been amazing.
Wait, when you say that you started swimming when you were considered able-bodied, I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing. This is very serious. It's a serious interview. Uh, how were you considered able-bodied? When were you born with a disability, or is it something that happened as you grew up somewhere along the line?
So I'm born with my disability, but it's progressive. So obviously when I was born, my vision was 20/20 and life was great. And then it started affecting me when I was 8 years old. But we had no clue what it was because we just thought, like, oh, just get a pair of glasses, life will be fine. And then when I was 12, it got to the point where it was, okay, there's definitely something wrong with this child's vision. And then, yeah, I was diagnosed. And since then, it's obviously just gotten worse. But yeah, I'll never be fully blind. So I definitely can't complain.
Okay, no, that's very good. Now, I have a good idea, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this as well at home have a very good idea of how swimming works. Now, you're visually impaired. How does swimming work when you are totally blind? Because there's a wall that you are swimming straight towards, head first. How does it work when you're completely blind and you're a swimmer?
So it's actually incredible. So obviously they swim with blackout goggles. So their goggles are completely painted black. They can't see anything to obviously make it fair. And on each side of the pool, there is someone with this massive long, almost like a fishing rod, but it's just a bit thicker. And then at the end of the fishing rod, there's either a tennis ball or a piece of foam. And when the swimmer's about a meter or two out from the wall, they literally get smacked on the head or the back to let them know, like, hey, the wall's coming, and then they know they need to turn.
What?
So, yeah,
So
it
they
is
just
insane.
smack you with a 10-foot
Yeah,
pole and bah, it's time to
they
turn.
literally whack you with a bowl. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, I've
it's
seen that.
another level.
Yeah, I've seen that at World Championships and Paralympics as well. But that was good for the benefit of someone who has never seen any of it. Now, when
Yes.
you're visually impaired, how does that impact you as a swimmer?
So I think it's very dependent on the person's visual impairment. So I don't have any central vision. So I can still navigate myself relatively well, but I don't have depth perception or anything like that. So for me, actually knowing when to turn is quite a struggle, but I guess you just kind of guess because there's the tee on the floor. So I kind of look for where that is, and then I more or less, I'll hit the wall. But I mean, I don't necessarily hit it perfectly. And then, yeah, you don't know what your time is when you finish, which is really awful because you have to do this like awkward, agonizing wait until you eventually see someone that you know and you're like, how was it? Was it good? Was it good? Please tell me. How did it go? I want to know. Yeah.
Alani, you're killing
Yeah.
me. This is, I suppose these are some of the funny things about disability sports because when you finish, normally if a Chad Leclos finishes, they look at the clock and they know they've broken the
And then
world
it's,
record and splash into the water.
yes.
You have like what they call VAR in football, where it's like, hold on, your decision is on review. You've scored a goal, but just wait. We will tell you. So you have to wait after you
Literally.
finish for someone to tell you. Wow. And
So you're
then
kind of like, oh, it didn't feel great. Was it good? Was it bad? And then people always come and ask, like, oh, how was it? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll eventually figure out.
it felt good when I was doing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's always, it's a nice surprise.
That is something interesting for me as well because I know it doesn't take long for me to know that I've ran a good time because as I approach, I can see the clock. As I cross the line, I can see the clock and I know if I've broken a record or not, if I've qualified or not. When
Yeah.
on the other hand, you sort of have to just go through with it, finish, probably get out of the water, and then wait for someone to tell you yay or nay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's quite
It's
something
always fun.
that able-bodied athletes don't need to worry about. But anyway, it is part of disability sports. So at 22, you've been doing disability sports for 10 years, you say. When was your first major, especially international competition?
So my first major was 2016 when I went to the Paralympic Games in Rio. So I just turned 18. So it was quite an eye opener, and for first international, it was quite shocking because it's not like I had anything to warm up and know like, okay, this is kind of how it works. This is what I can
Wait,
expect.
wait, wait, wait.
It was
So
just
you never,
bam.
you never been to any international competition, and the first one was Paralympics.
I had to go for classification at a gala in Brazil, but I think there were about 4 people in my race.
Yeah,
So
but
it
that's
was really,
classification. That's not competition. You had Paralympics
yeah,
as your first international
yeah,
competition.
yeah. That was my debut, so it was quite intense.
Wow, wow, that's insane. So, how did you do in Brazil?
My first race, wow, I'm gonna be honest, I got such stage fright. As soon as I walked out, I was like, what is this? And my legs went numb and I didn't time the race properly and it was an absolute train smash. But I think as the
Ah,
gala went on and I obviously did more races, I became more familiar with what I should be expecting. So I can't say I did brilliantly well, but I obviously didn't expect myself to go making a final or anything. But yeah, I was quite proud of myself for
you made the
just
final.
handling it relatively okay.
Wow. Sure, Alani. So I'm sure then other world championships would have followed then subsequent to Paralympics after Rio.
Yes, I was at World Champs in 2017 and then again now in 2019.
Okay, and take us through those competitions.
So 2017, I actually picked up a hip injury. I think it was 3 weeks before. So I wasn't in the shape that I wanted to be in. I was in quite a bit of pain, obviously from overtraining and just not taking my recovery seriously. So I think I managed to get about a fourth place there in my 100 breath, but it wasn't the biggest of world champs because it's the one after the games when most
Mm.
athletes take about, a bit of a break. And then 2019 was obviously quite a big one because it's the year before the games. And then I managed to make a final in my 100 breast, and then I placed seventh. And that's when I swam, well, where I went under the qualifying time for the 2020 games. So that was a brilliant race. I absolutely loved it, and it was so much fun. But I think I was also just able to handle it a lot more better because
Mm.
I had an idea of what I could expect. I knew the level of competition. I knew what I had to step up to. It wasn't just a normal gala here in South Africa kind of a vibe. So I actually really enjoyed those galas just because I think I had more of an idea of what to expect.
Yeah, wow. I mean, okay, fine. My question about your experiences started right at the top because I wasn't really expecting that. So locally, with your local competitions, how have you been doing with those? Because you've been around at least when it comes to those.
Yes. So those are always fun. I mean, there's the juniors and everyone, so there's a lovely community. For sure. I mean, I have to push myself quite a lot of the times because I mean, not everybody's going to go do a 400 freestyle, which is one of my main races. So sometimes I am on my own in those races. But yeah, I absolutely love racing. Normally I'm in the top three with the races that I do. So yeah, it's always fun to race over here.
Tell me, when you said earlier that you had a hip injury, um, how did that affect you mentally and emotionally? Because I mean, athletes generally do have injuries, and depending, I suppose, on what is the upcoming competition that's impacted by it. You were going towards world champs, your first world champs. How did that affect you?
Um, it was definitely not easy because I mean, you would know yourself, you train so hard for an international competition. You really put in the effort, and then literally just something in an instant can almost take it away from you, which is really difficult. And then while I was racing as well, I mean, I'm racing what I can feel. I'm not doing what I could normally do, and that was very tough. And I mean, even now, I still struggle with the injury. It's a constant thing that I have to work on in rehab and physio, because when you're injured, it's never the same again. Um, but yeah, it's definitely something that I have had to just work through and work on. Yeah.
Wow. So you couldn't have your Paralympics this year, so I suppose that gives you more time to prepare for next year because it should have been the world champs that are poorly attended, but hey, it's gonna be Paralympics next year. So what goals have you set for yourself for next year?
Oh gosh, I actually just got chills thinking of it. It's yeah, so exciting. I'm so excited. Yeah, so April is our qualifiers, and it's tough training times. It's really just put your head down and get it done. I want to qualify in my 100 breast and my 400 free, but I really want to do personal best times. Um, I feel if I put the training in, I can do it. So I'm very excited to see what I can actually pull out the bag when it comes to qualifiers in April.
You just got back from training. It's December now. It's time for things to calm down, for people to take things easy. It's been a crazy year for everybody. Are you gonna be taking a bit of a break now in December, or are you gonna be working even harder in preparation for your qualifiers?
So we've got our provincial champs next weekend. So obviously that we won't be training through when you're busy racing. And then yeah, I think it depends on how I perform then on what I'm going to do. I mean, if I don't perform up to where I want to be, then I think I'm going to have to work through and just get some extra training and get up to where I want to be.
All right, cool. I'll tell you what I'll be doing this December. I'm gonna be chilling. I need to take a bit of time off because it has been quite the year for everyone out
Yes.
there, and I'm sure it has been quite a year for you. And by the way, I mean the level of impact that lockdown had on you. I mean, was it really that bad on you? Some people are fortunate enough to have a swimming pool at home, Do you have one at home where you at least able to use it? And how was that for you?
It was very hard because the hard lockdown happened, I think it was a week before SASAPD was meant to happen. And everyone was telling me, Alani, look, it's most likely not going to happen. And I was like, no, no, speak laugh. The gala is happening. Nationals is happening. We're doing this year. It's happening. And then it didn't happen. So I think because I was always like, no, no, it's happening. And when it actually didn't happen, it was very hard for me. And then obviously not being able to train like I wanted to was horrific. We do have a small pool in our back garden, but it's not really big enough to really train in. And eventually it got too cold to train in as well. So you would be in for about 10 minutes and you'd hop out into the sun and you're like, okay, let's get warm. And then in again. So eventually, I mean, I just couldn't swim. So that was really tough because, I mean, you're so used to going and training. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, sorry. So yeah, but it did make me realize that I still really want to carry on swimming. So I think that was a positive that I got out of it. So
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. No. Very few people can say that they were thriving throughout.
yeah.
So in South African Paralympic swimming, did you have a role model growing up? Did you look up to anybody? Are you still looking up to anybody?
So I think it will be anybody from our generation will be forever Natalie du Toit. I remember when she was swimming here at our home pool where I trained, I went with a poster with her swimming and I said, Natalie, please sign this for me, please sign this for me. And this was in 2006. And then she wrote on it, dream big. And then literally 10 years later, I went to the Paralympic Games myself. So, and that was before I was a disabled swimmer. So it was really insane for me how things just sometimes work out. She was phenomenal in her swimming. But I think everybody that I've actually raced with who's been an SA swimmer has had some impact on my life. I mean, everybody is an inspiration and they've obviously overcome so many things that everyone can teach you something.
Wow, that is insane. That is very crazy. So the last generation of swimmers have not really been yielding that many medals at Paralympic Games. Do you think that your generation of swimmers are in a better position to change that?
I think it's going to be very difficult. This is now obviously me being very realistic. When I speak to some of the international swimmers from other countries, I hear, I mean, the American team gets salaries and things, and I'm thinking, what? Like, what is this? And I obviously understand South Africa can't do that. I mean, we're not in the position where we can pay our athletes at the moment, especially after COVID. So it's very difficult for us to compete against people that are almost in a better position, if that's the right thing to say. But I mean, I know lots of swimmers. One of my close friends, Christian Sadi, he is incredible. And I think he's got a very good chance of medaling next year. So I think it actually just depends on, yeah, what we're able to do with the resources we have.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a very valid point you make there. I think that you can sometimes have all the talent in the world, but when you don't look after that talent, it really does amount to nothing. If you have to go to work 9 to 5 and then go and train versus an athlete who just wakes up and just goes to train and gets a salary for it, you guys are not going to be at the same level ever, So I'm hopeful as well that over the years, things can improve for you guys, that you can get better support, better resources availed to all of you, Olympians and Paralympians alike, because it's important. It makes us compete better. It makes us very competitive. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Vanquish. I really do wish you the best. I am aware you've made your finals, but the final that you are making next year, you are coming out with a medal. All right. When you get out of that pool, someone has to hang
Thank
a
you.
medal around the neck and say, Alani, you have made it. That is my wish.
Someone has to come and tell me, Alani, just bow the way.
Oh, I love this twist. I really love it. But thank you so much. And all the best with your training. And again, next week with provincials that you guys are having, all the best. And I suppose you do need a bit of a
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
do take a bit of a break in December. And then, yeah, it's going to be a big one next year. It's going to be a big year where you medal at Paralympics.
Yes.
It is an honor, Alani.
We'll have to see.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching another episode of Vanquish. As you would know, that this is where odds and obstacles exist only to be conquered. And yes, our athletes do exactly that. They conquer all the obstacles that are put in their way. My name is Samkelo Khatebe, and thank you so much for joining us on another episode. See you next time.